The goal of this section is to provide you with the information and resources to build a dietary toolkit that will help you achieve a healthy diet. The basic tools that you need in your toolkit include the knowledge of the recommended daily allowances, or the DRAs, the dietary reference intakes, the DRIs, the estimated average requirements, the EARs, and the tolerable upper limits, the ULs. I know it must seem mind-boggling to see all of these acronyms, but in reality, a quick visit to choosemyplate.gov can help clear up any confusion. This government-regulated website is full of the information and tools you need to understand how to build a healthy diet. The question that begs answering is, why did the US government see the need to develop these guidelines? The answer dates back to the living conditions in the late 19th century. As you will read in your textbook, the term starvation wages was not just a figure of speech. Be sure to take the time to read through the information in the textbook to gain perspective in regard to the birth of these recommendations. There are three major keys to achieving a healthy diet. These are adequacy, balance, and moderation. Basically speaking, a healthy diet is one that favors nutrient-dense foods. They are balanced when nutrients are coming from a variety of food sources. And we need to eat in moderation, that is, monitor our food portions. The first guidelines were established in 1941. The recommendations set prior to 1980 focused on preventing nutritional inadequacy. Since that time, we have seen the American society ravaged by chronic disease brought on by the prevalence of overweight and obese Americans. With this in mind, the new guidelines now focus on promoting health, reducing chronic disease, and decreasing the incidence of overweight and obesity. At this writing, the new 2015-2020 guidelines have been released. There are several major themes that are woven through these guidelines. The four major action steps include: follow a healthy eating pattern across the lifespan. As your textbook points out, all foods and beverages matter. 2, focus on variety, nutrient density, and amount. 3, reduce your intake of foods that contain solid fats, added sugars, sodium, and refined grain products. 4, shift to healthy food and beverage choices. And finally, 5, support healthy eating patterns for all. This initiative must spread from home to school, and your textbook gives you specific recommendations outlined by this new guide. To give us a nice summary of these new guidelines, let's listen to registered dietitian nutritionist Sarah Moran as she explains some of the major themes and changes in the new guidelines.
A new set of dietary guidelines has been released, and that's kind of a big deal. So today we're going to talk about what's in them and what it means for you and me. So the 2015 dietary guidelines just came out, and these are put out by the US government every 5 years, and they started doing them in 1980. Now, obviously, these are a little late because it's not 2015 anymore, but they still got them done, and this is what's going to carry us over until they make a new set of guidelines in 2020. And they do these every 5 years so they can get another look at things, look at the new evidence that may have come out, as well as other factors that affect the guidelines, and then make adjustments as they need to. Now, for the most part, the guidelines don't change that much. I mean, it's eat fruits and vegetables. That's a big one that no one really tends to disagree with. But there are some nuances and some other things that have changed over the years, and there have been a few changes made to the guidelines this year. So the first thing you should know about these guidelines is they took the overall theme of looking at dietary patterns as a whole rather than looking at specific foods or specific nutrients. And there are a few different areas where they actually talk about this idea throughout the guidelines. So in the beginning, they say, although many of its recommendations have remained relatively consistent over time, the dietary guidelines has evolved as scientific knowledge has grown. These advancements have provided a greater understanding of and focus on the importance of healthy eating patterns as a whole and how food foods and beverages act synergistically to affect health. Therefore, the healthy eating patterns is a focus of the 2015-2020 dietary guidelines. And I think that's a pretty big deal because that's something that I've talked about frequently on here is that, it's not just one food or one nutrient. It's about how all these things work together and they affect each other. So the fact that they looked at it that way, I thought was a really big step in the right direction. They also say people do not eat foods and nutrients in isolation, but in combination. And this combination forms an overall eating pattern. And there are other quotes where they talk about this throughout the guidelines. But overall, I'm really happy that they decided to take this approach because I think it's what we all need to be doing as far as when we're looking at our food and trying to make changes is looking at our diet as a whole and thinking about how all these things work together rather than one superfood or one nutrient, because when you isolate things like that, it gets you in a situation where any food can be good or bad because all foods have a different mix of nutrients and you can really market anything or put any food down in like the evil food category just based on whatever perspective you're taking. Now, as far as changes, one thing they changed is that they got rid of the limit on cholesterol. And this was something that was expected. It's been talked about a lot when they were coming up with the recommendations. And it's something that I think is a good idea. Previously, they set a limit on 300 milligrams a day for cholesterol. So that's like 2 eggs and a little bit more. And it's something that I think is a good change because the evidence has been showing that dietary cholesterol really doesn't affect your blood cholesterol, except maybe with people who have like a certain genetic or family history. Maybe they're affected, but it's not really having that big of an impact. And there are so many healthy foods that are high in cholesterol that have gotten a bad rap because of the previous thoughts that cholesterol was harmful. So things like eggs and shrimp are pretty high in cholesterol, but they're really great healthy foods to include in the diet. Now, they do make some remarks throughout the writing, like the paragraph narrative part of the guidelines, where they say things like, but, you don't need cholesterol, so you still shouldn't eat it and stuff like that, which I think is kind of weird because it's almost a little contradictory. But at least they're moving in the direction of getting rid of the explicit limit in the recommendations, and they also included eggs on the list of like healthy foods that should be part of a healthy diet. So I think that is definitely a nice development. Another thing they changed is now they have a recommended limit on added sugars. So they're recommending that less than 10% of calories come from added sugars. So this is not like the sugar you find in fruit, but it's the sugar that's added to things. So think about like soda has added sugars, or cakes or candies, or even some foods that are quote unquote healthy, like different bars and stuff that are just loaded in with added sugars as opposed to naturally occurring sugars in things like fruit or milk. And honestly, I think it's a little surprising that this didn't make it into the guidelines earlier, but at least it's making it in there now because we know that added sugars aren't something that's providing a ton of nutrition for the body. You're getting some carbohydrate and some calories, but they tend to not have really any other vitamins or minerals coming with them as opposed to the sugar that comes from something like fruit. Because when you eat an apple, you're not just getting the sugar, but you're getting all the other stuff that apple contains. And another reason it's nice to see them make this move is because it points to the fact that real whole foods tend to be better for you. It's much better to eat a piece of fruit than some sort of bar or snack that has added sugar in it. Another important thing with these guidelines that is a little bit controversial is that they are keeping the recommendation that less than 10% of calories should come from saturated fat. And this is controversial because there has been a lot of talk here lately about whether saturated fat is really that bad. And in fact, the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, when these guidelines were being made, they submitted like their statement or their recommendations. And the Academy is the overarching organization for dietitians. They said that, the saturated fat thing, we need to take a look at this. It might not be a nutrient of concern anymore, just like the whole cholesterol thing, and that it's something that needs to be looked at further. So it's interesting to see that they kept the recommendation. People were wondering about that, but honestly, I'm not that surprised about it for a couple reasons. So first off, there really isn't consensus in the health community about this whole saturated fat issue. I mean, there are a lot of people like myself who really don't think it's that big of a deal as part of an overall healthy diet, and it's even in a lot of very healthy, nourishing foods. But there's a lot of people that are going to still go on and say that it's not that great. And some of the science is showing that, if you replace saturated fat with carbs, then you definitely don't get a positive result. But maybe if you replace it with unsaturated fats, then there is a positive result. but overall, people really aren't seeing eye to eye on this, so it's not surprising that they decided to keep it the same. And also, we have to consider the fact that the average American, their sources of saturated fat are generally unhealthy foods. A lot of like processed sweets and baked goods, as well as meat and dairy products and animal products that aren't raised in the best way. So, animals that are raised on pasture, that are eating a diet that's appropriate for them biologically and live in an overall healthier environment are going to have better quality fat. And it's a lot different than the fat coming from animals that are raised in the factory farm setting. So, when you consider that this is for the average American and most people still aren't getting that high quality pastured animal fat, then this probably is a good recommendation, because for the average person who's just eating conventional meat, I would probably want them to go with leaner cuts as well, because fat tends to be an area where a lot of the junky stuff gets stored in animals and in us, but it also just overall isn't as good because the fatty acid profile is different and all kinds of stuff like that. So keeping that in mind, it also makes sense that they would keep the recommendation as is. So overall, I'm pretty pleased with these recommendations. I think they definitely point to a healthy eating pattern. The recommendations for like low fat and non-fat dairy and cheeses and only lean cuts of meat, I'm not crazy about that because I am not an anti-saturated fat person, but I do understand where they're coming from on that, and overall I don't think it's the biggest deal when we look at these guidelines as a whole. Overall, they're pretty solid. Now, it's important to remember with these guidelines what their purpose is. They are not to make health recommendations to the average person. They're really for policy decisions. So when it comes down to like food labeling or school lunch or things like official publications from the government on nutrition, they use these guidelines as the basis for all of that other stuff. So that's what it's really for. And it's also for people like me, health professionals, to look at and see what they're recommending. So it's something that is good to know about as an average citizen, but it's definitely not like a recommendation for you, because everyone's different. Everyone has, their own personal things going on as far as their lifestyle, medical conditions, all kinds of things like that. And these guidelines aren't changing my recommendations for the average healthy person. One, because they're not that different than the stuff that we've been talking about before, but also because it still is all about eating real whole foods. That is the basis for everything, and then there's always individual variations based on that. But if you start with real whole foods first and then move from there, you will likely be on the right track. And if you want to look more into the guidelines yourself, I will have the full document linked below so you can go over there. There are some pretty neat graphs and stuff about what the recommendations are and what the average American is actually doing and all kinds of stuff like that. So if you're interested in learning more, you can go there. So that's what's going on with the 2015 dietary guidelines. If you have any other questions that you'd like me to answer about this, definitely leave those in the comments below. And if you are new to my channel and you want more healthy eating info and nutrition info and healthy recipes, make sure that you subscribe to my channel, because eating healthy and living a healthy lifestyle really doesn't have to be complicated, and I want to show you how to do it. And if you're loving the free info here, but you're finding that you need something a little more personalized, don't forget that I do offer one-on-one sessions. So if you're interested in that, just let me know and we can get that set up for you. Thanks for watching. I hope you're having a great day, and I'll talk to you next time.
That video provided an interesting perspective on fat as related to how the animals are raised. Pasture raised versus farm factory raised. The next question we want to look at is, how can we reach optimal health? We've seen the U.S. government transition from the food pyramid introduced in 1992 to its update in 2005. And there was a feeling that representing this message in the way they were doing it was confusing. So in 2011, the pyramid was replaced with Choose My Plate. This program used an approach that will help people better understand the amount of food and nutrients they should consume for each meal. Each food group is identified by a different color on your plate, and this addresses the variety of the foods that we should shoot for in our meals. The areas of the plate are also divided to help individuals better understand portion sizes. So looking at my plate up close, we can see that using my plate is not difficult. If you take a close look at the image, you can see that half of the plate should be fruits and vegetables, 1/4 should have whole grains, 1/4 should have protein. Dietary products should be low fat or non-fat, And the goal is to meet these recommendations with the fewest calories. Your textbook does give you a variety of ideas of how to build this healthy plate. Now, although My Plate is a great way for the general population to eat a healthy diet, it's not for everyone. Athletes need to be cautioned that My Plate probably will not provide enough calories to meet their energy needs. I would suggest that the athletic population turn to the old food guide pyramid for their healthy food suggestions. To help us better understand how to use Choose My Plate, let's look at this short video that gives us a nice illustration of how this dietary guide works for us.
Hi class, today we're going to talk about Choose My Plate. It's a new system that just replaced the food pyramid that we used to have. And you can go to choosemyplate.gov in the right hand corner, and they have great resources where you can track what you eat, you can find healthy recipes, and it gives you a good breakdown of all the food groups. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the actual plate. As you can see, it's a lot more user-friendly than the pyramid. It's divided into sections. A good way to remember what you should be eating every meal is to divide your plate in half. Now, half of your plate should be fruits and vegetables, and the other half should be grains and protein. And also, you want to make sure you include dairy in each meal. Now let's talk a little bit about the food groups. Down here you can see the vegetables. It says vary your veggies. So you don't want to eat the same vegetable every day. You don't have carrots for lunch and broccoli for dinner. You want to make sure you have a good variety of vegetables in your diet. Also, fruit or vegetable juice does count, but it is always better to eat the actual vegetable because it provides fiber, which is great for your diet. So just make sure that you include your vegetables in every meal. Now it may be a little bit harder to include it for breakfast, but you can make an omelet with some spinach and mushrooms, or you can even make a fruit smoothie and add spinach or carrots, and you won't even taste it in the smoothie. Now the next one is fruits. It says to focus on the fruits. And you want to make sure, again, that it's whole fruit. Fruit juice does count, but they want you to make sure you're eating the whole fruit because you are getting that fiber, which is great for your digestive system. The next one is grains, and you want to make at least half of your grains whole grains. That could be whole grain bread, whole grain oatmeal, all things that are good for you. You can also buy whole grain pasta now. The next one is protein. You want to go lean with protein. What that means is like chicken or turkey, those are some very lean meats. Also, some fishes are very good for you as well. And you want to keep protein about 1/4 of the plate. Now, as you can see, the protein in the fruits are about the same size. And so that's a good way to remember that you want your protein and your fruits to be about the same size. And then your vegetables and your grains are about the same size, but you want to keep the vegetables still the biggest. Now the last one is dairy. You want to have dairy every meal, but you just want to remember to keep it low fat, so that means buying skim milk or 1% milk, and go easy on the cheese. Cheese has a lot of fat in it. And also you can stick to skim yogurt, which yogurt is also very good for you. So you just want to make sure to include all these food groups in your meal. And if you have any more questions, I would recommend that you go to the website, again, choosemyplate.gov, and they have lots of great resources, and I hope you enjoyed this.
Hopefully you now have a better idea of how this guide works. It's a very simplified guide, just using a plate as our reference. We want to look a little bit at the 2,000 calorie recommendation. You will see this 2,000 calories limit plastered all over labels and eating guides. However, it's important that you all understand this is a reference norm where the majority of the general population will fit in. This is not the correct value for athletes or individuals engaged in a fit lifestyle. It is also not the proper reference for those trying to lose weight. Therefore, it is critical that you each evaluate yourself by height, weight, amount of physical activity, and weight goals. You will all be required to complete this task when you are asked to complete one of the lab assignments in this section. And after you complete this requirement, you will know how many calories are specific to your needs. When we want to learn about nutritional facts, we go to the nutritional labels. That's the first place we want to look. In 1990, the Nutritional Labeling and Education Act was passed. This meant from that point forward, all packaged foods sold in the U.S. must have nutrition labels that accurately reflect the contents of the food products. It's important to note that there are several mandatory facts that must be included, so please refer to your textbook to learn about both the mandatory and optional label inclusions. It is also important to note that people do read the labels. A 2010 health and diet survey revealed that 54% of first-time buyers of a product will check the food label. These buyers that were surveyed were primarily using the information to evaluate fat, calories, vitamin, and sodium content. Are you taking a look at the labels of the packaged food products you are buying? Because reading labels can be confusing. There are many claims that are made on food labels. In addition to addressing the nutrients and the ingredients, food labels that display certain nutrient content claims must also follow certain requirements. Let's listen to a discussion by Dr. John Keel as he explains how to read a nutrition fact label.
Hi folks, I just want to take a couple minutes to talk about nutrition labels and how to read them. This knowledge is useful for everyone, and it doesn't matter if you're dieting, trying to gain weight, or just plain eat healthy. It's very important, very useful knowledge. So here you're looking at a generic nutrition facts label, so I'm going to go over each section individually. The first thing that you should look at is the serving size and the number of servings per container. You should pay really close attention to this. Food producers will decrease serving sizes and increase the number of servings per container to make the number of calories appear less than it actually is, and that can be very tricky. So looking at this example, one serving size is 2 crackers, and there are 21 servings per container, or about a total of 42 crackers in the whole box. This could be one single sleeve of Ritz crackers or saltines or Oreos or whatever, but how many times have you actually eaten just 2 crackers? So pay close attention. Next time you drink a 20-ounce bottle of soda or juice or something, read the nutrition label first. You'd probably assume that it's just 1 serving per bottle, but in all likelihood there's probably 2 or 2.5 servings in that 1 bottle. All the rest of the information on the labels pertains to 1 serving size, so remember if you eat 2 or 4 or 10 serving sizes, you got to do some math to get an accurate calorie count. The number of calories is generally pretty straightforward. If you're trying to lose weight, this is something that you need to pay close attention to. Net calorie intake is the major factor regarding whether you gain or lose weight over time when you compare it to calories burned. That's sort of like the fundamental principle of weight loss. Dietary fats. So dietary fats are an important aspect of your nutritional intake. You definitely need them. Trans fats are the worst ones. They're the ones associated with disease and weight gain and things like that, and you want to avoid those. So pick foods with low or no trans fat. Some people will argue that saturated fats are actually not that bad. Others think that they're the devil. So the jury's sort of still out on saturated fat, but there is evidence linking saturated fat to cardiovascular disease. The good fats are unsaturated fats, and those can be monounsaturated or polyunsaturated. Cholesterol is used in the synthesis of certain hormones, and steroids, and your body needs it, but not an overwhelming amount, just in moderation, like most things. It has been linked to atherosclerosis and cardiovascular disease, so low cholesterol is generally a good thing. Sodium, which is essentially the same as salt, is also important. It's a good preservative, so you'll see in a lot of shelf-stable products like canned goods and crackers, sauces, certain meats, etc. For people with certain diseases like heart disease and high blood pressure, salt can make those worse. Thus, being aware of your sodium intake can be beneficial. The RDA for salt is 2,300 milligrams per day, just FYI. Total carbohydrates are obviously very important. This isn't necessarily the best example for a carb-heavy product, but these values can vary widely depending on what you're eating. You definitely want to pay attention to the total number of carbs. What you really want to pay attention to is how many grams of those total carbs are simple sugars. Simple sugars are the ones that are more readily absorbed in your gut, and generally speaking, are more likely to cause you to gain weight and predispose you to developing diabetes. It's not an exact correlation, which is why the glycemic index exists. However, in general, the lower the sugar, the better. Dietary fibers are the better type of carbohydrates, so you'll want to pay attention to those as well. Protein is very important. It is essential for all functions and organs of your body. This is especially true for physically active individuals, as it is essential to building skeletal muscle. I would not be too worried about consuming too much protein. That's a difficult thing to accomplish, and it's probably the most important macronutrient in my opinion, so the higher the protein, the better in general. This section is for vitamins and minerals. I'm not going to go over this in detail as it's pretty straightforward, and there are a lot of vitamins and minerals that can be on this list. If there are specific ones that you're looking for, this is the place to look. You get calcium, iron, potassium, magnesium, etc. down here, as well as all the vitamins, the B vitamins and vitamin A, etc. Occasionally, potassium will have its own category farther up, but the interpretation is the same. In this last section, it's just telling you what those percentages mean. They're based on an estimated 2,000 calorie diet. Obviously, this is going to vary based on on your daily caloric intake, and I would encourage you not to spend too much time worrying about this section, as it is very generic and required by the FDA. If you're not eating 2,000 calories a day, or you have a different macronutrient requirements because of your physical activity or something like that, then this doesn't apply to you, so I wouldn't worry about it too much.
As you can see, reading labels does require a bit of math, but reading them properly is a major key in understanding how to make wise nutritional choices. We have now finished our introductory discussion about nutrition, and I hope you have a better understanding of the components and are now able to apply these to your lifestyle.